Republican in Washington, made that move today, releasing the video. There are also now major criticisms against the wealthiest man in the world, Elon Musk, facing fierce backlash after agreeing with a post on X that Jews, quote, have hatred against whites, end quote. Musk said the post was, quote, the actual truth, end quote. Now, that post happened on Wednesday afternoon, and today the White House called out Elon Musk. They released a statement saying it is unacceptable to repeat the, quote, hideous lie. X is also now facing backlash from some of the biggest titans in business. Apple, for example, the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, has paused advertisements on the platform after its ads were found near anti-Semitic content. IBM has done the same as well. Steve, I'll start with you here. There's obviously a lot going on what these companies have decided to do, and the comments as well that Elon Musk made, and now 2 days later, the White House deciding to call it out.
As you said, there's a lot going on. I think that the first thing, the connection between the previous story is I do think that transparency, freedom of speech in these instances is more important than ever. I think that we need platforms like X where free speech is encouraged, even from the billionaire owner of that company. When he says things that I would find very odious and completely offensive, he should be able to say that and then face the consequences. Not freedom of speech, not freedom of reach, and not freedom from consequences. And he's seeing the consequences right now with some of these advertisers. Now, I do think it's particularly rich in a couple levels, though, also. I think that Apple, which, by the way, Jon Stewart just left Apple because he couldn't do an episode about China and the Uyghur Muslims who are being done. Look, okay, now Apple's getting involved because Elon Musk wrote a tweet. Okay, sure. And then the White House, who they're very careful about what they pick and choose about what they're calling out in this moment. Yes, Elon Musk's tweet was offensive. There's so many more other comments that are the other side, anti-Semitic comments from,
Why do you think it took them 48 hours to come out against this? Because this happened Wednesday.
I think that the White House is they've got a lot of things going on right now, and eventually they got to Elon Musk here. But I do think that the advertisers is a big one, and this is actually what's more important, I think, from a business perspective. This is a mistake on Elon Musk's part to put these sorts of anti-Semitic posts near advertisers. These brands want to be safe. It's one thing that these tweets can exist on the platform because they can be called out for being offensive, but they should not be near IBM and Apple ads. That is bad for business, and that's a business problem, not so much a speech problem.
Well, this is Scott Bolden. How big of a problem do you think it's going to be if other Fortune 500 companies start to pull out over these unnecessary, inappropriate, really bad comments that are really unnecessary but unforced errors on Elon Musk's part? I mean, if the advertisers start to pull out more of them, then what?
Oh, it's a huge problem. It's a huge business problem for Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is not hurting for cash, so I think he's going to be fine. So I'm not really worried about Elon Musk's pocketbook or the value of Twitter, now X. But no, I think there's two different issues here. And I think on one level, the idea that not Elon Musk's tweet, but other people's anti-Semitic tweets are appearing near ads, that's a huge problem. Now, what Elon Musk decides to say on the platform when he says, oh, I agree with this, or interesting point, that's a different problem altogether. This is a guy who has lots of positive qualities, this billionaire genius, and then also kind of childish in some ways, and also, I would say, ranges into the controversial on purpose. And that is a problem from a PR perspective for X, and I think that's something that they will have to think about it. And I imagine that other advertisers will join this. This is now going to be a moment for them to take a stand, a little bit performatively, I would say. They're kind of picking and choosing their spots, but he's opening it up. You're right; it's an unforced error on his part to kind of weigh in as the guy who runs the ship.
Steve, quick question on that point. What do you, when it comes to Apple, do you think that they are more interested in pushing back on anti-Semitism, or are they more interested in going after Elon Musk? The reason why I say that is if Apple was truly concerned about stopping the spread of anti-Semitism, wouldn't they take TikTok off their phones?
Good point. Yeah, of course. Right. I mean, we're seeing we have not seen any shortage of anti-Semitism. And if you want to say Elon Musk's post is anti-Semitic, I think it certainly veers that direction. We've seen so many other instances coming from people on college campuses, the progressive left, that has absolutely, this was something that was clearly bubbling beneath the surface, this sort of anti-Semitism that we did not see explode until Funnily enough, the October 7th terror attack in Israel, an attack on Jews, now all of a sudden the anti-Semitism is coming to the forefront. We don't see these companies really going out there in the way that they are when it's Elon Musk, which is a convenient battle to fight.
All right, Steve Krakauer, got to leave it there. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Steve, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, great to be with you. Thanks, guys.
Yep, you too. All right. Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.